Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, esteemed Nobel Prize laureates, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Nobel Foundation, it is my great honor and pleasure to warmly welcome you all to the 2025 Nobel Prize Award ceremony. In particular, I wish to welcome the Nobel Prize laureates, their families and friends. As we gather here in Stockholm for the festivities to celebrate this year's laureates, it is against a dark backdrop in the world at large. With its rapid, unpredictable, paradoxical, and tangled developments, it may seem hard to inspire trust and confidence in the future. In this world, Alfred Nobel's visionary legacy is a forceful reminder of the transformative powers of science, literature, and peace. Science is a lingua franca for humankind in exploring and expanding the frontiers of human knowledge. It is international in nature, and it creates a scientific community across borders, values that extend beyond the limits of science itself. This is particularly important to emphasize in times of division, polarization, and conflict on a global level. The prizes honor Nobel's principle that, I quote, "No consideration be given to nationality, but that the prize be awarded to the worthiest person," unquote. This year, the Physics Prize is awarded for experimentally establishing macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling in superconducting systems, leading towards technology for quantum computers. The Chemistry Prize for the development of stable, extremely porous materials, materials that can be tailor-made to capture carbon dioxide, store hydrogen, or deliver pharmaceuticals in the body. And the prize in Physiology or Medicine for the discovery of a crucial complementary mechanism that prevents the immune system from attacking healthy organs, thus raising hopes for treatments of autoimmune diseases and new cancer therapies. They demonstrate how fundamental research, awarded for the greatest benefit of humankind, can also lead to groundbreaking applications. The prize in Economic Sciences, in memory of Alfred Nobel, for analyzing and modeling conditions for sustained growth, lays bare the importance of scientific understanding of technological breakthroughs, and how inventions lead to old companies losing out to new ones, that is, the role of creative destruction. And the Nobel Peace Prize, awarded today in Oslo in the absence of the laureate, is dedicated to the struggle for democracy, which is now threatened in so many ways across the globe. Clearly, this struggle is not without risk. Last, but definitely not least, the prize in literature this year is awarded to an authorship where melancholy and apocalypse seem to dominate the picture, but where the force of art and creation, unfathomable as it is, may still transcend the dark and violent powers. As the world is at its darkest here in the Northern Hemisphere, the Nobel lights illuminate not only the city, but also the world. Through knowledge, integrity, and excellence, through creativity and inspiration, the laureates offer hope. They remind us that it is possible, through different paths, to address and come to terms with the many global concerns and challenges we face today. But their work also reminds us of our responsibility and the possibilities that lie within our reach. We must not just be passive spectators, but active contributors in defending the freedom of science and literature and the strive for peace, to transform the world into a better place for humankind.
Sono ansiosa di sapere come il conte Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, esteemed Nobel Prize laureates, ladies and gentlemen. The fundamental and yet counterintuitive laws of quantum physics have inspired human imagination since they were discovered. 100 years ago, in the summer of 1925, Werner Heisenberg discovered matrix mechanics while escaping pollen and hay fever on the tiny rocky island of Helgoland in the North Sea. In December that same year, Erwin Schrödinger took a train through 19 tunnels to reach the small, beautiful mountain village of Arosa in Switzerland, where he first wrote down his wave equation, which governs the motion of quantum mechanical particles during a Christmas skiing vacation. Based on Schrödinger's description, it was immediately clear that if an electron could go skiing, it would somehow simultaneously explore the path both to the left and the right of any tree down the hill. When you and I ski, not choosing a specific route around the tree would lead to a painful disaster. Furthermore, quantum particles can explore the other side of seemingly impenetrable barriers as if they dig their own tunnels on the fly, while Schrödinger's train certainly needed real tunnels. Our human bodies, as well as trains, exclusively consist of quantum particles. So how come we have no personal experience of such quantum tunneling? The main reason is that these striking quantum features are extremely sensitive to interaction with the environment. Large composite objects upon which we build our intuition interact far too strongly, both with us and with the rest of their environment, to behave in a quantum manner. Thus, to observe fragile quantum effects in larger systems, they need to be very carefully isolated, even more than what Heisenberg and Schrödinger themselves needed for their initial theoretical discoveries. This year's Nobel Prize laureates in physics, John Clark, Michel Devoret, and John Martinez, managed to give billions of... Oh, sorry. We can wait a little. I have... managed to give billions of electrons moving in an electric circuit on a silicon chip enough secluded privacy to collectively exhibit both quantum tunneling and energy quantization. This involved cooling them down to only 1/100th of a degree above absolute zero, cooler than in outer space. This freezes out most of the disturbing environment and forces the electrons to form so-called Cooper pairs, thereby losing their identity, all behaving in exactly the same way and becoming superconducting. In order to control these Cooper pairs with microwaves, but still shield them from the abundance of thermal microwaves at room temperature, they invented a new type of filter, damping the signal 20 orders of magnitude before reaching the system. If you would listen to a rocket launch through a similar sound filter, it would sound far less than a ticking watch. The amazing and curiosity-driven discovery that superconducting electrical circuits on a silicon chip, like this one here, clearly visible to the naked eye and containing billions of electrons, can still exhibit the delicate quantum effect of tunneling, as well as absorbing microwaves in small packages, or quanta, just like natural atoms, established superconducting circuits as a platform for exploring quantum physics with engineerable artificial atoms, as well as for developing future quantum technology. Professor John Clark, Professor Michel Devoret, Professor John Martinez, you have been awarded the 2025 Nobel Prize in Physics for the discovery of macroscopic quantum mechanical tunneling and energy quantization in an electric circuit. It is an honor and a privilege to convey to you, on behalf of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, our warmest congratulations. I now ask you to step forward to receive your Nobel Prizes from the hands of His Majesty the King.
Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, esteemed Nobel laureates, honorable colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Consider for a moment the importance of holy materials, porous structures that can be used for a large variety of purposes while accommodating smaller entities into their many cavities. How would one make the wholes? In other words, how would one make nothing from something? Well, one may think of a subtractive manufacturing method where material is removed to create the cavities. However effective this method might be, this may not be very practical at the molecular scale, perhaps especially when the holes are of nanometer size. A better method could be to use an additive manufacturing process. In this case, the holes would be indirectly formed by adding the materials surrounding them. Even better would be if the added building blocks could arrange themselves in a kind of programmed assembly process. Doing this by means of chemistry at the molecular scale is very challenging. Nevertheless, this is what our laureates have developed and perfected, leading to what is called metal organic frameworks, or MOFs. For this, they adopted coordination chemistry, where metal-based nodes are linked together with organic or carbon-based molecules thereby creating a whole lot of nothing. Ordered nothingness, the holes inside. Richard Robson, for example, produced a diamond-like material with spacious cavities based on the assembly between copper ions and tetratopic or four-armed organic molecules. He also conceptualized the process and demonstrated the utility of such materials. Susumu Kitagawa demonstrated gas adsorption as an important application. He made a tailored MOFs that could take up or release gases such as methane or nitrogen. Kitagawa also championed development of flexible or soft frameworks. This led to controllable, shape-shifting materials where the whole structure can be varied upon demand. Omar Yagi demonstrated that stronger interactions between the building blocks led to greatly improved properties. For example, he developed an iconic MOF structure, MOF5, which exhibited not only very high stability, but also a very large surface area. The MOF contained thousands of square meters per gram, which also showed that the MOFs are competitive for industrial applications. Yagi further conceptualized the field by demonstrating how programmed assembly of MOFs can be made systematically. By varying the building blocks, large families of wholly structures could be made with the same basic geometry or topology. The accomplishments of our laureates have had an enormous impact on our society. Their remarkable chemistry has enhanced our capabilities and considerably widened and deepened our knowledge and understanding. As a consequence, the field has expanded rapidly, and many thousands of MOFs have now been developed. These frameworks have been tailored for a large variety of different applications, ranging from gas storage and carbon capture to atmospheric water generation and drug delivery. Susumu Kitagawa, Richard Robson, and Omar Yagi. You have made groundbreaking discoveries in chemistry that have led to the development of metal-organic frameworks. This is a truly great achievement for the benefit of humankind. On behalf of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, I wish to convey to you our warmest congratulations. May I now ask you to step forward and receive your Nobel Prizes from the hands of His Majesty the King.
Your Majesties, your Royal Highnesses, esteemed Nobel Prize laureates, ladies and gentlemen. This year's Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine honors discoveries that explain how our immune system is agile, adaptable, and skillful in defending us against invading microorganisms, while usually preventing collateral damage to our own tissues in this process. Every day, we are in intimate contact with countless viruses, bacteria, fungi, and the occasional parasites. And during today's celebrations, we will undoubtedly expose ourselves to a few more airborne microorganisms. And as we shake a great many more hands, the corresponding risk of contact transmission will increase. Many organisms are masters of disguise. They wear molecular clothing that resembles our own, making it a delicate balancing act for the immune system to recognize and eliminate invaders without turning its weapon to the body itself. When this balance fails, autoimmune disease develops. To prevent such friendly fire, certain immune cells undergo a rigorous education in an organ called the thymus, known in Swedish as brässen, located in our chest. It is also, as it happens, it's also a culinary delicacy. So if we're lucky, there is a small chance that it may even appear on the menu this evening. Professor Shimon Sakaguchi became intrigued by a curious observation. Newborn mice whose thymi are removed just 3 days after birth develop severe autoimmune disease. He set out to identify which cells went missing when the thymus was gone. After years of meticulous work, he discovered a subset of cells marked by CD4 and CD25 that prevented autoimmunity. Around the same time, Dr. Mary Brankov and Dr. Fred Ramstell were investigating a peculiar mouse known as the scurfy mouse, so named for its flaky skin and widespread inflammation. This mouse has first appeared, of all places, in a large breeding colony during the Manhattan Project in the 1940s. Only males were affected by autoimmunity, hinting that the gene lay on the X chromosome. Narrowing down the culprit to a small region on the X chromosome with 20 genes, Drs. Brankov and Ramstell embarked on the painstaking journey of sequencing one gene after the other. The final gene at the bottom of the list turned out to be the key, FOXP3. A few years later, Professor Sakaguchi and others could show that his previously identified cells, now known as regulatory T cells, depend on FOXP3 for their identity and function. These regulatory T cells keep our immune system in balance, preventing autoimmunity while ensuring that immune responses against infection remain strong, but not excessive. Unfortunately, tumors have also learned this lesson too well, often surrounding themselves with regulatory T cells to evade the body's immune attacks. The discoveries made by this year's Nobel Prize laureates reveal one of nature's most elegant balancing mechanisms. How the immune system restrains itself to protect the very body it serves without attacking it. Their work opens new avenues to treat autoimmune diseases, enhance cancer immunotherapy, and promote transplant tolerance. Doctors Brankov, Ramsdell, and Sakaguchi, you have uncovered a fundamental principle of natural peripheral self-tolerance, a mechanism that keeps our immune system powerful yet disciplined. On behalf of the Nobel Assembly at the Karolinska Institutet, it's my great privilege to convey to you our warmest congratulations. I now invite you to step forward to receive the Nobel Prize from the hands of His Majesty the King.
Eders Majestäter, ärade Nobelpristagare, mina damer och herrar. Med årets litteraturpris till den ungerske författaren Laszlo Krasznahorkai belönas en sällsam urkraft i samtidens litteratur. Redan med sitt debutverk Satan Tango från 1985 väckte han sensation. Med stark suggestion skildras en grupp uppgivna själar på ett övergivet kollektivjordbruk alldeles före kommunismens fall. Allt är märkt av misär och stiltje. Tills två luggslitna gestalter oväntat uppenbarar sig som hoppets eller den yttersta domens budbärare. Omöjligt att veta vilket. Deras lögnaktiga förespeglingar förvrider huvudet på alla. Det apokalyptiska temat skruvas upp ytterligare i Krasznahorkais andra stora roman Motståndets melankoli, som utspelas i en liten stad i en dalgång i Karpaterna. Olycksbådande tecken visar sig överallt, mest påtagligt när en spöklik cirkus rullar in med en uppstoppad jätteval som huvudattraktion. Spektaklet sätter extrema krafter i rörelse med våld och vandalism som följd. Den brutala kampen mellan ordning och oordning gestaltas mästerligt i mardrömslika scener där ingen går fri från terrorns verkningar. I sitt följande författarskap vidareutvecklar Krasznahorkai sin existentiellt lodande epik rotad i en centraleuropeisk tradition av absurd svärta och burlesk humor från Franz Kafka till Thomas Bernhard. I samtidsromanen Herst 07769, Florian Hersts roman om Bach, låter han den unge, urstarke hjälten framträda som en helig dåre i Dostojevskijs mening. Oändligt medkännande, men med desto svagare förståndsgåvor. Med brio konfronterar han paniken i en tysk småstad i Thüringen när våldet bryter ut. Mot fonden av det lokala arvet efter Johann Sebastian Bach ställs terror och skönhet oförsonat mot varandra. I en enda mening på 400 sidor lyckas romanen både omfatta den komplexa verkligheten och överbjuda den i ett språk som blivit en form av musik. Krasznahorkais signatur som författare är en flödande syntax som rymmer både tyngd och lätthet, melankoli och upprymdhet, fantasteri och poetisk intensitet. Hans inre sökande ledde honom tidigt till Kina och Japan, vilket vidgade den centraleuropeiska kontexten och gav hans verk en ny, eftersinnande ton. Det sker i den magnifika prosasamlingen Seobo där nere, vigd åt konstens plats i en värld av blindhet och förgänglighet. Här har den europeiska desillusionen stämt möte med österländsk mystik, som när huvudpersonen i det inledande stycket på sin morgonvandring genom Kyoto får syn på en majestätisk snövit häger som absolut orörlig står i en flodfåra mitt i den myllrande storstaden. Ett nav av stillhet uppenbaras mitt i kaos. Lika oväntat men mindre kontemplativt kommer insikten hos en simultantolk på besök i Shanghai i en av berättelserna i Världens gång från 2013. Redlöst berusad lyckas mannen efter en lång dag förirra sig i det spektakulära trafikinfernot 9 drakar. Det liknar en modern variant av myten av Tesev som stängs inne i den labyrint där monstret är fånge. Men Krasznahorkai återger inte bara en historia, han förvandlar förirrandet till språk så att läsaren i lycklig svindel blir indragen i den galna centrifugen. Vi får aldrig veta hur mannen lyckas ta sig tillbaka till sitt hotellrum. Däremot att han plötsligt inser hur allt i tillvaron hänger samman när han hör dånet av ett strömmande vattenfall på sin tv-skärm. Vad är det han egentligen erfar? Hoppet tycks alltså inte vara definitivt förlorat i denna mörka värld. Vi vet bara inte hur och när det tränger in. Det finns kanske en dold heraklitisk ordning i oordningen, mitt i de krig som sliter sönder vår stackars värld. Det är Laszlo Krasznahorkais storhet som författare att ha lyckats förena en fullkomligt illusionsfri blick som genomskådar bräckligheten hos de ordningar människan inrättat med en obändig tro på litteraturens möjligheter. Dear Laszlo Krasznahorkai, on behalf of the Swedish Academy, it is my privilege to convey to you our warmest congratulations on being awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature 2025. May I now please ask you to step forward and receive your prize from His Majesty the King.
Your Majesties, Your Royal Highnesses, esteemed laureates and dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, 1.5%, this year's prize in economic sciences, is about the power of 1.5%. Close to zero, you might think. But when it represents sustained economic growth, 1.5% rather than zero means everything. For most of the history of humankind, growth was negligible. Living conditions barely changed between generations. But over the last 2 centuries, steady economic growth of 1.5% per year has instead become the norm, lifting masses of people from poverty, doubling life expectancy, and laying the foundation for our welfare. But what is economic growth about? Perhaps the word more comes to mind. More money, more work, more energy, more consumption, more of everything. During the first phases of growth, more was certainly important, and it still is in poor countries. There, more food, more medicine, more resources, more energy are required for a better livelihood. But over time, the content of economic growth has evolved. In modern societies, it is no longer all that much about more. It's about new and better. This year's laureates shows that growth over the last 2 centuries comes from a steady stream of technological improvements. New medicines, safer cars, better food, better ways of heating our homes and lighting them, and new ways to communicate over great distances are just a few dimensions of what we call growth. New and better products and methods replace the old in a process we call creative destruction. Over 1 or 2 centuries, almost everything changes. Joel Mokyr demonstrated that for this process to work, practical knowledge must be intertwined with scientific understanding. Before growth started, these 2 types of knowledge were disconnected. In Mokyr's own words, it was a world of engineering without mechanics, iron making without metallurgy, farming without soil science, mining without geology, water power without hydraulics, and medical practice without microbiology and immunology. This disconnect made it very hard to improve upon technological discoveries, be it in steel making, medical treatments such as vaccines, or the value of doctors washing their hands before surgery. The Enlightenment and the scientific revolution changed that. Scientific understanding about why things work became linked to practical knowledge about how things work. This produced a self-propelling spiral that gave us a continuous flow of new, useful knowledge. A spiral that is still today producing new and better. Creative destruction is turbulent. Firms and jobs are continuously destroyed and replaced. By inventing a mathematical model of the whole economy, Philippe Aghion and Peter Howitt showed that despite this turbulence, creative destruction results in steady growth, decade after decade. Their model and its further development have become a laboratory, producing a wealth of important lessons for society. These include that markets left alone often provide too weak incentives for innovations, but also that incentives, in fact, sometimes can be too strong. And safety nets that help workers transition to new and better jobs are required. Their work also shows that since new ideas build upon old ones, the direction of innovation is often persistent. It can get trapped in unwanted paths, such as the reliance on fossil fuels. The models show how society then can steer innovation in a sustainable direction. Joel Mokyr, Philippe Aghion, and Peter Howitt, you have uncovered the preconditions for, and the mechanisms underlying innovation-driven growth. Your work provides society with a better chance to make sure that economic growth can continue and be directed to deliver new and better to mankind. It's an honor and a privilege to convey to you, on behalf of the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, our warmest congratulations. I now ask you to receive your prizes from His Majesty the King.